Oto Gomes, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for agreeing to be with me here today. Like I mentioned when I reached out to you, this is basically all about crypto and what, like I'd like to say, crypto for dummies. Like myself, I'm not a dummy. However, I feel a lot of people really don't know what to do with crypto and how to navigate that whole space. And I read all about your story, and I really loved how 2008 fundamentally changed your life with the real estate crash. Side note, I'm in real estate as well, but haven't been doing much of that lately. And I want to tell people of how you went from $20,000 investing in crypto to 17 million. I think it's even more now.
Yeah, it was,
Within
yeah.
like what, 6 years, 7 years? Where are we now?
Yeah, I'd say I really started that process probably 2015. So yeah, 7 years,
Okay, cool,
or so.
cool. Yeah, if you can guide me through a little bit of your story and how you got into this. I know, like I said, 2008 was a pivotal moment, and then, other things happened that led you into crypto. So I'd love to know more about that and share with us.
Yes. So first off, thank you so much for having me on, Gabriela. I really appreciate this. I always love talking about not just crypto, but overall like worth and value and our freedoms and the freedom of autonomy. So I appreciate it. I really
Of
appreciate
course,
the
no, it's my
conversation.
pleasure. I love to learn about all of this, and crypto is just one that I've been navigating. And I'm just gonna tell you straight up, it's like really nerd dork stuff to me that I'm just like, what? Like, I do not get any of this, and I consider myself a dork, but like definitely not in that, like, I just don't grasp it. Like, what's mining, how do I transfer on a daily basis, all of that. We'll get into it, but
Oh,
go
we're gonna
ahead.
get and I've done this enough times. I have a bunch of analogies, so we'll make it
Perfect.
little stories and visuals. I'm a kinesthetic learner, so
Me
I had
too.
to do it for myself. So then, as I created for myself, I was like, okay, now I know what to say.
Perfect.
um, yeah, just to kind of talk about myself for a bit, I started really everything kind of started for me. I started working for the family business. Let's just start there. I was 16 years old. The family business is accounting, so tax preparation, bookkeeping, all that good stuff. Supporting the matrix essentially is what my family did for decades, and they still do. I have two brothers, and they still do the same work. So I started when I was really young, and that already was like a Kickstarter in just becoming aware of how these systems worked, like the current centralized
Right.
systems, the monetary system. The tax preparation really gave me an insight into the how that system functions.
Mhm.
How it does audits, how it like the fear that they create to for that system to function. Like I became very aware of that very early.
Mhm.
And then around 2008, like you said, 2007, it wasn't even the crash that woke me up. It was actually a documentary that I watched before the crash happened. It was Zeitgeist. I don't know if you ever
Okay.
heard of
Yep.
that one.
Mhm.
Zeitgeist, and the other one was Loose Change, which was about 9/11,
Right.
and it really blew my mind open. And I don't know if any of your watchers or viewers have seen Zeitgeist. It's not just about the financial system. It just starts with that, but then it goes into religion and way more depth, and you see how it all ties
Yeah.
to the money and the monetary system. So that was the bigger awakening moment for me, like my red pill moment. But it really wasn't until crypto came out and Bitcoin, the white paper came out, that I saw it for the first time, that I felt I could do action steps. Because once I learned that about the systems, I was just like, who am I to do anything? I'm gonna just go back to my 9 to 5, do what I'm supposed to be doing, get my credit score up, just following the rules of the road, kind of.
Right.
And so I just accepted it for what it was. I went back to work. I actually made enough money to buy my first property when I was 20, and or no, I'm sorry, I was 19. I was 19, and it was right before the crash. And
Mhm.
so I bought it for like 160, and then it crashed to. I had to short sell it probably like 12 months later for 40,000. And that was me desperately not knowing how these systems worked, and just going like, I messed up. Let me just exit, let me just get out of this.
Which a lot of
Um,
people did, I feel, back then. They had no clue, right? And was that here in Los Angeles that you bought your property?
no, it was in Florida.
Florida.
Florida,
Okay,
the
got
other terrible market,
it.
or not
Right.
terrible, like
I know.
volatile market. Um, so once I saw the Bitcoin white paper, and that was introduced to me by my IT guy in my office, in my accounting office, he's like, "Have you heard about Bitcoin?" I'm like, "No, no. What is this?" And he showed me the white paper. He actually printed it out. It's only 10 pages,
Yeah.
and I just read it. I just read it like a book, and it blew my mind. I didn't understand the coding and the math of it, but
Right.
it's written out in a way that you can really, if you take the moment to read it, you can comprehend what, at least for me, the capacity, like the potential of it, at least. Maybe I'm special because I connected the dots about the current system. So that's what you need to do. You need to really become aware of how the current system works to see how Bitcoin is so different, and how it can be used properly. Um, okay, so long story shorter, I once I read that, that was it for me. It was the moment that I was like, okay, this is action steps. We can actually do something here. And this was around 2012, 2013. It was like the end of 2012 into 2013. But I actually didn't initially go into the Bitcoin itself, like into the token itself. I
Mhm.
believed more like, well, if people believe in this, then they're after the products that are going to facilitate that. And what that was computing power, GPU power,
Right.
miners, you call them.
Hmm.
So I started actually that way. I went to China. I invested like $75,000 at the time into miners, into the actual miners, so that I can resell it. Okay. That's how my process started. And then eventually, once I really realized how beautiful the network is and what it can actually be used for, I started to invest into the coin. So that's actually because the 75,000 I lost. So I actually started with a $75,000 loss essentially in the crypto space. But that was a whole different conversation. That's a very long story of how that
Right,
all went
right.
out. So once I failed there, I kind of pulled out. I pulled out of the crypto space for almost a year and a half. I kept eyes on it, kept reading about it, but I pulled out and just was like, I can't. I lost so much money. I was very, very panicked. Then I slowly started buying back in,
Okay.
and at the time I was still married. So I had, I think we had like $5,000 in savings. I put all in 5,000, and then little by little I started buying in up to around 19 or $20,000. And then I moved to California. I got divorced, and then that was my like, I'm okay. I'm out of everything. I'm all into crypto. This was 2016, I think. 2000, yeah, middle of 2016, end of 2015, middle of 2016, in between there. And that was the beginning of my journey of like truly diving into the crypto space, and understanding, what the layers are and how it actually works. And long story short, that 19,000, or yeah, it was 19,000, turned into 17 million in about a year and a half. It was very quick. It was about a year and
Wow.
a half. And
Wow.
it didn't stay there. It went to
Of
17, and
course.
then it
Yeah.
dropped down to 15, and then 12, and then it jumped up by 14. It was so volatile. But for me at the time, I had so much resource that I started, using my accounting background and go, okay, I got to diversify. I got to get into some properties. I got to get into some assets, and just started reinvesting and diversifying. I'm so glad I did that, because if I would have just held, it would be worth like $500,000 now, which is still a lot of money, but based on the 19, but it wouldn't have been good.
Well,
So I was able
500,000
to,
versus
yeah,
17 million is a huge difference. I mean,
yeah,
hello.
yeah.
Now,
It,
this is a great segue. Sorry about that. This is a great segue because speaking of diversifying, So how do you diversify then, since a lot of spaces aren't using crypto? Like, how do you, like, let's say you wanted to, I know more and more we're starting to see it where you can buy real estate, you can go grocery shopping, more and more, but for the most part, let's be honest, you can't do that everywhere. So how do you go through like your everyday to day and go and like purchase property, buy groceries, do your everyday to day business with crypto?
Back when I started, there wasn't many solutions. There was very, very limited. Yeah, you had to figure out a way to either do over the counter with someone and say, "Hey, here's a device and it has $1 million in there. Give me this," and it would literally be that. That would be an over the counter trade. But now there are many, many more solutions, many pathways to diversify or lock in profits. To spend in the matrix, to spend in the
Right,
way that the systems require.
right.
So yeah, so there's just for everyday spending, there are cards that are connected directly to your wallet, to your blockchain wallet, and then it's like a gift card. And so the system, the app, all it does is it sells it from the wallet and then deposits it directly into the gift card, and you can do up to
Oh,
$10,000 a day.
oh
So
wow, a day.
that's what a day. So that's what I do. Yeah, I know it's a lot. So it's like that's what I do for my expenses. I throw in the money that I'm going to spend for that that month or whatever, and spend it, and then just replenish if I need to. So that's like a way to do it. Another path is to do. They now have so NFTs. NFT. I don't know if you've heard of that word before.
Yes,
That
absolutely.
means non-fungible token, which compared to Bitcoin is the exact opposite. So Bitcoin is a fungible token. NFT is a non-fungible, meaning the Bitcoin, it's like a dollar. Like if I give you $1 and then I have another dollar and then I hey, give me that dollar and then here's this dollar. You're like, okay,
It's
because it's
dollar for
one to
dollar.
one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's fungibility. It's
Okay.
fungible one to one. The NFT means that I can, on the same ecosystem or the same blockchain, let's say protocol, you can create two different tokens that have different values or even different metadata, like how much data is in the actual token that is housing the data. So an NFT is basically really good for real estate. It's really good for like art auctions. That was actually the lowest hanging fruit for NFTs. So I don't know if you noticed in the last couple of years, there was a big NFT craze that happened actually the beginning of last year. And just digital art on the blockchain, and they were worth $500,000, $1 million for
Yeah.
one. You
Yeah, I
know,
mean, it started going crazy. The NFTs 2020, 2021, it blew up. And then 2022, you saw
yeah.
more exchanges going on and more artwork and all of that. So yeah, it's gotten pretty big from what I understand.
Yeah, but like that's what I'm saying. Like the artwork piece, like the utility of NFT for artwork is the lowest hanging fruit. That means it's like the easiest thing to create an NFT for.
Right.
So all of those, not all, the majority of those projects created an NFT for what? Oh, to create a community. So now you're a part of something bigger than yourself, and that was it. That was like the real value of it. Now it's different. Now you have NFTs that are representing actual real world artwork. So you have a physical thing that's connected to the blockchain. You have real estate. I just saw on the news a couple months ago, I would say 2 or 3 months ago is the first one, the first true NFT sale of a home. So somebody literally, they had them home, they made the deed into an NFT officially, and then they put it up on OpenSea. And OpenSea is like an eBay for NFTs.
Right. It's the
And
main one, right?
yeah, and somebody bought it, and somebody just bought it. They sent over the key or the NFT, and then that got them access to the house because the house was it had a code. So like you scan the code with the NFT, and then that opens up the door.
Got
So
it.
it's like, there it
Now,
is.
it's crazy. It just blows my mind. But so NFT, it's in its way its own currency as well, or did, like, let's say for instance that person who bought the real estate bought it with crypto, or how did they buy it?
Yeah, they bought it with Ethereum.
Ethereum,
So
got it.
Ethereum was the, the currency that was used to transact to then buy the asset. So
Right,
think of NFTs more as like the public registrar. Like, when you buy and sell a house, the official registration of the house is in the government, right? The government third party. That's why we need government, because we don't trust each other. We
right.
need an officiator to registrar and make it
Used
official.
to, but yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? And that's
It made
again
us not trust each other. That's the difference. Yeah,
exactly that there was enough division that was created in the last couple hundred years or so that now we don't trust each other. And
right,
so what I believe blockchain to actually be is it's actually a trustless system to help teach us or remind us how to trust. So that's what I think. It's just a stepping stone really for us to like go back to how things, are supposed to be. Um, so so NFT, think of NFT as a deed or like an officiator or something that is the representative value document of the real world asset.
right,
And so the idea is that the deed in that NFT, everything is housed in that NFT. The blueprints, all the information for the house. It's a key. It also holds value. That's where we're gonna have a value system. And so imagine a marketplace with homes, and the NFT is representative of the value of the home, right? And then you can trade it in an open market. Imagine how liquid real estate's going to be all of a sudden,
right,
where it's
right.
not going to be a 30-day close. It's going to be a 30-second close. You just boop, and it goes boop. Now it's yours. That's it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Um,
considering all the things, being in real estate and, you've experienced it selling the home and all of that, but just the 30 days, 45, then the lender doesn't, won't land, the buyer doesn't qualify. It's a whole thing. It's a process. Meanwhile, the real estate agents are like pulling each other's hairs out, it's
and
crazy.
here's the cool part too. I talked about solutions. The thing that we love about the current system is that you can go to a bank and get a loan, and then you can get that money and use it to buy property. Well, without going down that rabbit hole, because I have a whole conversation on that and how to play that system right.
We might.
Yeah, we can. In crypto, you don't have any of that friction. You don't have any of that friction of like underwriters and like people that are gonna in the background that you don't know who they are, and they're just saying no to you, and you're like, who are you? Why are you saying no to me? In
Right.
crypto, there's none of that. And with having that benefit of mortgages in the real world, in crypto it exists as well, but in a more again trustless way, in a blockchain based way. So you can go, let's say you have the money to buy the property but you don't have enough. Say you have 20%. They have websites you can go to where you can take out a loan leveraged with the NFT of the home as collateral.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it already exists. And then it just all locks in. And then based on the volatility of the market of the home, it will either liquidate the amount that you have there, or it'll put value back in. So they'll actually deposit value back into the value of the NFT if the home value goes up. And then the person can do remortgage, like, what do you call that?
Refinancing?
Refinance. Yeah, they can refinance and then take out that extra liquidity, and it's instant. It's not, there's no delay. It's like minutes. And then you get the Ethereum or another diversification that I go into as well to mitigate volatility is something called stablecoin.
Okay.
And so in crypto, you have coins, there's a variety of them, many of them, and you want to diversify, that are one-to-one to fiat, to your national currency. So they have USD, they have Australian dollars, they have yuan, they have a bunch that you can do one-to-one stable. And that's the other thing, you can diversify into these other currencies that are global and be trading in other markets. And especially now, because we're in, because of BRICS, we're in a de-dollarization reality right now, where the reserve currency is no longer the dollar. It's already like that right now.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, we saw recently that they just tried to prop it up a little longer with what is it? What was the meeting that they had recently in the House of,
The debt ceiling?
yeah.
Yeah,
And
now it's opened indefinitely for 2 years until 2025. So there's no limit right now for 2 years. they're going to print so much money. We are going to go. This is my I probably should say this at the end, but
Disclaimer,
we
we're not financial advisors.
yeah, we're not financial advisors. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Yes.
Use it at your own risk.
Yeah.
uh,
Seriously
I
though.
think I believe we have less than 30 months before the whole thing collapses. So
Yeah.
I've met with a few mathematicians. They say we're going to start feeling the effects of that way earlier. They said the next 12 to 15 months, we're going to start feeling hyperinflation. So we
Yeah.
don't have much more time before things really shift.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important to have these conversations and, come up with different solutions.
Yeah, and I love how parallel markets are already, and communities are already there trying to facilitate and help us navigate these. Sorry, of course, the gardeners
I
navigate.
can hear it. You're
Oh,
good.
good, good. So there are already parallel communities, trying to come up with solutions for us, to be able to do more peer-to-peer transactions, right? Which is great. And I love how you answered how we can exchange with each other, because I think honestly that's where we're going, at least in the foreseeable future. It's going to
Mhm.
tank, and I know this. And like you said, 2025, I follow a few astrologers, and I like that you use astrology as well. That said, yeah, absolutely the same thing. They're propping this up until 2025, and then this market's going to tank, and we're going to be in a completely new world. Not
Yeah.
only financially speaking, how we're transacting with each other, like globally, all of that, and obviously we know that they are doing this on purpose to tank the US dollar, right? Because
Yeah.
they want us to go to the CBDC or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Um,
CBD. Yeah.
CBD, yes. And we know that this country since 1913 has been on the Federal Reserve System and is no longer an independent republic.
Mhm.
Um, so in light of that, where do you think crypto is just going to explode, right? In your opinion?
Yeah. So right now you have two different types of tokens that exist, or two different types of projects. You have branded and you have the sovereign. So I believe in the short term, the branded, which branded is like government coins, corporations, the WEF coins. There's so many of them. They've been invested heavily through a company called A16Z. It's a crypto company that's been around for about 4 or 5 years. They've been throwing billions into different projects, and I think they have like 40 or 50 under their name right now, which a lot of them are top 20. So it's like a bunch of traps basically for
Yeah, that
them to
freaks me out.
siphon.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there's a lot of those. So those are the branded, and then there's the sovereign ones. That's the ones that were created or birthed out of chaos, or birthed out of necessity by the people. And it's hard because I was there. I experienced a lot of this. I saw it happening. I followed it along. So it's very easy for me to point to them and go, oh, these are it. It's very difficult for a new person to come into the space and figure out what those are.
Right.
Um, so when I teach about crypto, I have, my academy, and I educate on this. I teach the tools to look for those types. That's the goal here, is like, you want to be able to filter out all the unconscious scams, or the conscious ones, all scams, push it out of the way, and look at the ones that are regenerative and are birthed by the people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like Bitcoin. There's a few privacy coins, 3 or 4 privacy coins that were created, again, they're private. Like, every time you transfer, it tumbles the crypto, so you can't follow it, you can't track it.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
so that's what's going to happen. You're going to have these two types in the short term. So I believe in the next couple of years, everything is going to go all together, especially because in trading, crypto is the manipulation. Trading is the trap. And so they are using those that know are using Bitcoin to siphon the value, the new cash that's coming in, by using their projects to siphon. And so
Interesting.
I can explain this. It's called a triple market or triangle trade. And so you use So right now you have Bitcoin, USD.
Mhm.
Let's call another project, Ethereum, USD, and then you have Ethereum Bitcoin. There's an Ethereum Bitcoin market. So there's no dollar value. It's just it's like one Bitcoin's worth, 4 Ethereum or whatever the number is. So there's a number that equates to the value of each market. And so what they do is they manipulate. So let's say the Ethereum USD market, they manipulate that dollar value by siphoning, by messing with the value of the Bitcoin Ethereum market. And so
Mm.
there's a manipulation happening there, and it happens on many levels and thousands of projects. I mean, there's 26,000 plus projects right now and growing. And so there's a lot of projects that are just there to siphon the value of your Bitcoin. And they're
Wow.
like legitimate projects. They're built properly, but the trap is the traditional banking concepts. So what
Right.
they've done is they've taken the old concepts from the banking system and then they just put it on the blockchain and they're like, hey, a new project, look, here it is. This is sovereign. And it's not, it's just the same old stuff on a new tool, so that we can fall into another trap. So yeah, it's on us. It's on us individually to really educate and to know the differences.
Yeah, and just like anything, you have to take full accountability and responsibility for your life and your finances and your health and all of it, right? We can't let it go. And even though you're a mentor, in the end, you're teaching people how to manage this crypto space on their own. Now, speaking of which, how does somebody without experience, I mean, it's just so easy to fall into it. Like, look, I fell into it. I have a Gemini account that's with money sitting there. I have zero idea of what to do with it. Is it even my money? I don't even know.
Yeah, there's a saying in crypto: "Not your keys, not your crypto."
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's very true.
So,
It's like if it's in somebody else's server, if your crypto is in somebody else's server that you have to log into, it's not really your crypto.
okay.
And that's what most people do. They compare crypto to stocks and commodities, and then they treat it as such. They're like, oh, it's just another asset class. I'm just going to do an investment. It's like, no, 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 no. Crypto blockchain is a paradigm shift. We're shifting from centralized systems to decentralized ones,
Mhm.
and so it's not just an investment.
Yeah.
And
It's a
so,
consciousness shift
oh
as
yeah,
well.
it's a multi-level metaphysical consciousness shift to embody our abilities again.
Mhm.
I believe blockchain is really just a visual representation of the conscious collective of
Right.
like what we can do with these, physical biological technology bodies that we have.
Mhm. So for someone like me who, fell into the trap and got the Gemini, the Coinbase, all of that stuff, and probably doesn't know money at all, what can somebody do to, get that money out of that server and back into my hands? Because obviously I put that money in, I'd like to take it out. And that's another thing that's frustrating is you can't convert the crypto back into fiat, which, I don't want to, obviously, but at some point when the market was going up and down, I did want to take it out. And I'm like, that's so annoying. I can't do anything with this. And then I'm just stuck. I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally get that. So there's three things really that I try to tell the newer people that are like, I just need to figure this out right now so I can get, squared away, and then I'll do the education. So, well, first before I say that, really what you want to do is you want to remove it. That's the first thing. You want to
Right.
remove it you don't want to leave it in those centralized exchanges. That's you're you're in their server. So the electricity that represents the code of your crypto, that electricity is in the server that is housing, everything else. So you want to remove the electricity. You literally want to remove the value, the metadata out of their hands and put it in your hands.
Mm-hmm.
So there's three things that I mentioned to new people so they can get started immediately. First thing is self custody. That's what it's all about. We can't be dependent on these systems anymore to take care of us. That's why we're in the situation we're in.
Yeah.
So it requires taking responsibility of the weight of your savings or your investments and not leaving it in somebody else's hands. Because right now, leaving your money in the bank, you're getting siphoned. The
Mm-hmm.
weight of your savings is getting siphoned. And most don't know this, but once you take in all aspects of inflation, which, it's not just the money printing, but also the effects that inflation has on everything else.
Mhm.
It's actually, the number's more like 35 to 40% inflation a year right now. For the last 2 years, it's been like that, and it's increasing. It's getting
Right.
faster.
It's gonna get worse.
It's going to get much worse. So,
I'm gonna write this down.
so first thing, self custody. Okay. Second thing is immediately what you can start doing is basically just dollar cost averaging. That's what we call it, DCAing, dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. Okay. And I've done the math. If you dollar cost average in, for example, very simple, $1 a day, you do $1 a day with Bitcoin. And so if you do $1 or 100 or 1,000, whatever it is, the average APY for compounding that investment on a daily basis, regardless of price, whatever the price is, you invest that same amount. It's 15 to 20% APY that you get through
Wow.
the volatility, and that has been true since the beginning of Bitcoin, and I believe will always be true and accelerate. Why? Because of the deflation. There's deflation built into Bitcoin. So as time moves forward, less Bitcoin is going to be generated.
Right.
So, and that's part of the protocol.
So let me just pin that for a second. So if I'm understanding correctly, let's say I have my $5,000 that I have in Gemini. You're saying instead of like taking that $5,000 out and like dumping it into, it's actually better to invest $1 a day, like set up like a recurrent payment in a way.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're going to go in with a bunch of money at once, then I would recommend you learning the trading and learning technical analysis a little bit, because it's not about the dollar value. That's the first thing. That's the trap. It's
Yeah.
about accumulating the asset.
Right.
So I would recommend, if you're going to go with large amounts of money, I would recommend, like, hey, just learn a little bit of TA so you can learn direction, because then you can buy it at the right time. Then you can accumulate more of the asset at the right time. The majority of the variables, though, are not actual technical analysis, because that's a lot of just crystal ball stuff. There are variables in Bitcoin that you can look at that are real, organic supply and demand variables that are true energy that comes from humans. That's why this is so unique. That's why Bitcoin is so beautiful, because there are metrics that we can look at that everyone has access to. It's open source.
Yeah.
That you can look at and see the immediate effect of humans interacting with the chain. So it's essentially all around miners,
Right.
miners and quants. We call them quants, or quantitative traders.
Now, can you get into, I mean, not to make it crazy, but I was reading about this when I was doing my research. Now, the miners I know make money off of mining, and their job is to what? Verify the transaction?
Yes. So what call them validators, or basically what they do is they're confirming that the information that's coming from the wallet that wants to do the transaction is valid. And what is it doing? It's checking all the other wallets that exist to make sure that it matches. Because that's how Bitcoin stays trustworthy, is that everybody has when you download a wallet, a Bitcoin wallet, you're downloading every single transaction that's ever happened on that chain since the beginning.
Wow.
And so you're getting the ledger, you're getting the all the transactions. And so the miners, what they're doing is they're supporting the network by being nodes. So they're like facilitating the information to pass, which is, think of it like a mycelium network, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a mushroom mycelium network. Every point that transacts, that's a node, right? So every point is a node or a miner. And so the miner is facilitating it, they're validating, and as a miner, you can actually decide how much fee you collect based on your processing power, based on whatever. There's a bunch of metrics for miners that it's really, if you can get really cheap electricity, it's very profitable, very good industry. But essentially, yeah, like they make money from validating the transaction. So every transaction they get a fee, and then they get money from the reward output. So because they're supporting the network, they're being nodes, they're transacting for you. The network itself, the protocol goes, oh, you're here. You're giving me you're giving me processing power. You have X percentage of the whole entire space. So you get, boom, here's your reward. And then it starts sending the rewards every 10 minutes. So that's how it works. Right now, every 10 minutes, there's 6.25 Bitcoin that gets created and spread out evenly for every miner in the world
Wow.
every 10
Okay.
minutes. And so in about a year, that's going to get cut in half. That's the deflation. So it's going to go down to 3.125. And so that's why you have all these metrics that you can look at to determine value and determine direction that is very unique to Bitcoin, very connected to humans.
It's so interesting that the miners, like I read that about 78 to 80% are based in China, and yet crypto is illegal in China. It's just so
Yeah.
it's so weird, you know. I don't it all it's starting to make sense as you're putting it together because I'm just visualizing as a network. Um like
Yeah,
the
that's so I've been like I said, I've been around since 2012 with this. In China, there was a period for I'm going to say 6 to 8 months that so all those mining farms is owned by the CCP. That's owned by the actual government, or
Mhm.
the toxic part of the government.
I figured.
And yeah, and most of it comes from regenerative resources, the electricity. So it's like hydropower, the three something dam. There's a dam that they have there. It's one of the biggest farms, Bitcoin mining farms. So yeah, that's one of the big problems that I noticed with Bitcoin. It's not that much though. It's not 60-70%. It's less than that. Um, but right now, it was an issue for a while, and they were actually using that for their benefit. For, like I said, 6 to 8 months, they were creating news in the media to create fear, to make the price go down, and then it would be like a 30-day cycle. And then and then the miners, they would turn them off too. There'd be this manipulation with miners to make it less difficult to mine Bitcoin, because that's what it does. Depending on how many miners are there, the difficulty level goes up and down. That's how it self-regulates. And so for a while, for like 6 to 8 months, they were manipulating the price to accumulate Bitcoin. And I saw it, man. It was like a cycle to the day. They would go, we're going to ban Bitcoin. It's illegal now. And then 25, 30 days later, it would be like, oh, we've decided we're going to look a little deeper into it. This might be a good thing. And it would be this back and forth with the media. And that brought me a lot of awareness to the Mockingbird media for sure.
Right, right, right. Um, what else was I gonna ask you? So now that we're talking about minors, and obviously we know that all of this is based on internet, the network, and all of that. So what happens, let's say, and I'm sure you get asked this annoying question all the time, what happens if like an EMP or like a major solar flare happens? I mean, all of this, I mean, in a way, I kind of want it all to burn and like, let's start over. But I'm all about it, but I know that's not the reality, or maybe. What happens with, all of that, the transactions and everything, if like the servers around the world go down, which obviously we know our Mr. Klaus Schwab over here is telling us, already warning us that this is something that will probably happen.
Yeah.
So,
So actually, I'm so glad you said that at the end there. This is a rabbit hole, and I hope your viewers are ready.
I like,
So, in my opinion, my perspective, if Schwab is saying anything, just look at the exact opposite,
right.
because that's probably the truth. And sometimes it's exactly what it is. Sometimes they'll actually say exactly what it is, and might be a slip up or whatnot. So my perspective is that there is a lot of manipulation in the media, in what we know about this reality, and what actually happens with nature, with technology. I think there's a lot of manipulation physically happening. For many, when 2020 hit and I started really diving deep into the rabbit holes, I learned about so many different types of projects that the government is doing. You can
Oh,
actually look all this stuff up. FOIA Freedom of Information Act, you can actually request these documents and you can see the proof. It's right there.
Yeah.
And so, I've looked at enough, I've looked at enough things and videos and documents that there is major weather manipulation happening. There is major news manipulation happening, education system, the medical system, definitely the financial system.
Mhm.
And so all of this to what? To create a reality that's closed off from yourself. Literally, that's all it's for. It's just so that you don't know the capacity and the ability that you actually have. And
Yeah,
so
the
the whole
power
thing is
that we
made to,
have.
exactly. And so it's all about creating dependency on the system so that you're not empowered. Period. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
And they use the monetary system to create the pressures to drive the actions.
Yeah.
So all that to say that solar flares it won't happen on a global level.
Right.
You're always going to have areas that are going to be good, and there's enough. Right now, there's over 1,000 teraflops of processing power just for Bitcoin,
Mhm.
and the largest supercomputer in the world, a quantum computer that they have, or they call it a supercomputer, is 22 teraflops. And so the Bitcoin network has more than 1,000 right now. And you need at least 51% of that processing power to manipulate it. And so there's not enough supercomputers in the world to come together to affect that network. With that said, once you realize how the internet is also built, then you realize the power that we actually have. So let me break that down for a second. 90%, 90+% of the internet is hard cables. It's not satellites. It's not even, these balloons, these Starlinks and stuff. It's majority are hard cables. So we actually have physical hard cables that connect us to each other. EMPs don't affect cables. All they affect are processor chips. So anything that has a processor chip gets fried. But the actual cables themselves is just copper. It's just copper cables. They don't get fried. They're still, they're still going to move electricity.
Mhm.
Another thing is most people don't know that we have the capacity to transfer information through electrical cables. So imagine how many electrical cables we have. I'm not even talking about that.
Yeah, like the
We have so
whole
many.
freaking, yeah, the whole place is on electric, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have all these highways. We have these physical highways
Mhm.
that these evil people can come with a machete the size of the US and just cut right through it, and it will still work. Why? Because it's a mycelium network. There are actual cables under the water that connect countries to countries. I mean, everything is connected right now. So up until Bitcoin and crypto, we only had third-party operating systems, like the processing information, the software
Mhm.
to connect to each other. Like even right here, we're doing an interview. I have my Apple computer that has iOS operating system that has the Zoom application that is we're then going through AT&T or Com or Cox or whatever. So there's like 3 or 4 gatekeepers just so I can see you.
It's awful. Why can't I just see
Awful.
you directly? You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
we can
So
build our own networks.
yeah, there you go. So blockchain is exactly that. Think of blockchain as the operating system to facilitate us connecting peer to peer with each other without having to go through the third-party servers to use their operating systems. And so right now there is decentralized internet. You can get a node to be a part of this blockchain called Helium, and you get a part of a decentralized internet. So there's no gatekeeper anymore.
Yeah.
There are solutions for I mean, there's so many solutions. And again, the point is that now we have capacity to connect directly to each other without having to go through these gatekeepers.
Right. And isn't I heard of a company that's making like your own server with like your own VPN where you don't have to, be on any network whatsoever. I'm interested in buying that.
Yeah,
Um,
you can create your own node, right? So you have your own server at home. And
right.
then here's what's
I
really cool about
can't, but maybe
well,
somebody
so
can.
let me explain this part too, which is really
Yeah.
unique. And maybe I can analogize it. But in the current system, like let's say Netflix is built on AWS. That's Amazon Web Services.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't know that. So like Netflix they don't have their own servers. They're on
Right.
Amazon servers. Um, if there's too many people that use Netflix at once, uh, that creates something called DDoS, which is there, there's it can't process, it can't handle the weight of all the people coming in, and so usually what happens, Amazon, they have to like buy some more servers and make it more robust, and they have to make it larger. So that's the current system right now.
Mhm.
With blockchain, so what you're talking about is a node, buying yourself a node or your own server. You only need a server that has the capacity to hold the data that facilitates the information. So because what's going to happen is, as people join your network, they're going to be downloading all the information to their servers, right, to their computers.
Mhm. Mhm.
So essentially what you're doing is you're creating you're creating a operating system that is yours in your server to create an infinite amount of processing power, or tapping into an infinite amount of processing power. So I never would need to buy more servers to hold, or to, to be able to process the demand, because
Mhm.
there's literally right now an infinite amount of processing power that's a part of the networks. You see
Crazy.
how it correlates there? Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes me think of like, we're energy, it's all energy, like it's all connected, and we're all connected. We just, obviously if you're in another state, I need to be able to see you. In the end, there's that quantum too. I can actually connect with you telepathically, but we're not there yet, obviously, as humanity.
Step by step, we're getting there.
Step by step by step, yeah, right? It's just crazy, and I think we'll eventually get there in our lifetime. I don't know how old you are. I'm 45, but I think we'll be able
36.
to, okay, so we'll be able to see kind of the beginning of the golden age.
Mhm.
I hope. um so where are you, where are we on time? I can't see my
We got like 10 minutes,
10
about
minutes.
10
Okay,
minutes.
perfect. um Okay, so we talked about like somebody like me transferring their stuff. I don't know if we went over the third item. We went to over the DCA
Yes.
into
So,
Bitcoin. What was the third item? Did we skip that step?
no, yeah, we did. We did. We kept
Okay.
talking. We went down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, we'll do this again because I love going down these rabbit holes, let me tell you. So,
yeah, me too. So it's the first one was self custody. Make sure
yes.
you, when you're going to invest your money into anything, make sure you actually own it and it's in front of you and you can touch it. The second thing is for Bitcoin, specifically for crypto, doing dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. And the third thing, really important, and this is probably the hardest part of the journey, is starting to become aware or align yourself with the physical as opposed to the meta, okay, or
Mm.
the world. So let me
Mm.
break that down. It's all based on etymology. It's all based on language. The English language is actually one of the most complex languages ever, because this is my research and my belief, but I believe that it's a language that was created to facilitate the enslavement, to
Mhm.
facilitate our self-implication into the contracts, but through our physical body.
Mhm.
Okay. So the third thing is really aligning yourself with etymology and awareness of the physical, the differences of the physical to these metaphysical systems. There is the physical reality, and then there is the fictional metaphysical, the fictional digital. And the more we individually identify with the legal digital, the less control of our lives we have, the less we will be controlled, or the more we will be controlled. Sorry, the more we will be controlled. So, so I'll give you that example. So, world, right? Whenever I ask somebody to describe me, world, what is world to you? The usual answer is, oh, the continents, the ground we're in, the house, me, you. And I'm like, no, that's actually not it. Lawfully speaking, if you actually go to the Black Books, it's a Black's Law Book, not Black
Oh,
Books,
yeah. Mhm.
Black's Law Book. It's that one, and then there's a Bouvier Laws Book, or it's a dictionary, Bouvier's dictionary.
They're both
They,
dictionary, kind of in a
yeah,
way.
they're both
Yeah,
dictionaries, but
yeah,
one's just called the Law Book.
yeah.
um, Essentially that's the real definitions that are used in their reality, in their world, for what? For commerce. It's all based on commerce. It's
Yeah,
all based on commerce.
we're chattel to them basically, right? Like
Yeah.
we're
We're,
money since we're born, birth certificate, all of it. We're, we get put into the market as soon as we're born and as soon as that birth certificate is printed.
yes, you are, we are, men and women individually, we are the collateral. We
Yeah.
are the worth. We are the value
Mhm.
that gives that currency. And it's not even money, too, by the way,
Yeah.
because it's the way that it's set up. It's actually just a promissory note. It's a debt vehicle. It's meaningless. It's currency. It's just to facilitate transactions. It's not worth anything.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest part of the journey, is really embodying, hey, who am I? Who am I physically in relationship to that name on the license, or that name that I got from the IRS that they're putting pressure on? Is that
Right.
me? Or is that something that they created that they're controlling, and I'm just self-implicating, saying, yeah, that's me?
Hmm.
When, if you, like I said, if you go down the road of etymology, this is how you really embody, is by getting the facts. Um, your name in uppercase has a different definition than your name in lowercase. And even if your name with like the first letter is uppercase and the rest is lowercase, whole different definition right there. It's like 3 or 4 different definitions. So our names were essentially stolen from us,
Yeah.
so that they can control that, and then we just self-implicate ourselves over and over and over.
Yeah. I'm studying the law for mankind, and that's,
Yeah,
basically
Greg.
all of
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Uh-huh. So this is going to be a loaded question, especially since you come from the tax background and your family's still in it and all that. And we just talked about the IRS. Why are we still voluntarily paying taxes when we know that that props up the system? Why is nobody talking about this in the spiritual community? Why are we like good people all the time still filing our taxes when we don't get to decide where that money gets spent, where it goes to Puerto Rico so it can be laundered somewhere else? Like, why?
I would say it's a combination of a few things. It's like you have fear that comes from media, fear that comes from entertainment. I mean, how many movies have you watched where the guy gets put in jail for tax evasion,
Yep.
right? And that can happen. That does happen.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do
But
it on purpose. Yeah.
again, it's when we self-implicate, when we go, yeah, I did that. Me, the physical body did it. No, no, not the physical body, the digital body. The digital one did it, not you. So I think fear, I think not being taught properly, the education system. I mean, I didn't know anything about the system from the school. I didn't learn anything about how to navigate this reality from school. Zero, even in college, zero. Only when I was in practice did I go, oh, why did I go to school for? I've been using completely different muscles. And then also, just ancestral trauma. They've been doing this for centuries. And so we have lineage. We have our parents, grandparents, great grandparents that have done things a certain way, and that's what they're used to. And then we're taught that indirectly. We almost don't have a choice in how we were born into this system, right? We're just born into it. It's like, oh, okay, I got to do this, and I got to pay taxes,
Yeah.
and so we really have to like let go. There's a lot of letting go there, because once you embody it, once you remember who you are, it's not a fight anymore.
Mhm.
That's the other thing. A lot of people think that they need to protest. We need to protest this and protest that and go fight it.
Yeah,
And
we're
it's like,
just
no.
fighting each other. Yeah, all the time.
Well, it's reaffirming the system that it has power.
Yeah.
Because think of, like, when you sign a contract with someone and you agree to terms, then you got to follow the terms. Even if it's like the person gets to smack me 15 times. If you didn't sign the contract, that's assault. But because you signed the contract, everybody's cleared. So we're not fighting these systems. We're remembering who we are, remembering who I am. And then if ever that system comes and wants to interact with the physical, you remind them.
Yeah.
And reminding is very easy. You just point out the ambiguity of the words they use in the letters. That's literally it's as easy as that. I mean, it's not as easy as that. Hold on, let me take that
No,
back.
it's not that easy.
Not as easy as
I've
that,
been
but that's a
studying this
huge
stuff
part
and
of
I'm
it.
like, oh. I just want more people in the spiritual and awakened community to opt out, and let's like let's do this
That's
on
all
mass.
it takes is like, let's normalize the conversation. Let's all keep talking about it and let's all start action steps. And
Yeah,
then we just start doing it. That's my goal right now. Is create that community.
me too. Me too. I don't know how much I have. One more question, and this is goes back to the Instagram post that you did, and about that woman who said that Ronald Reagan printed the treasury notes and all of that. And I wanted to, obviously the fiat currency we're on right now, it's distorted, it's awful, it's a slave system. How do we know though that the what Ronald Reagan printed um, is backed by the treasury when the government has been dipping into social security, how do we know that the treasury even is there? And
Yeah.
isn't that
So
like going back to the system in a way?
100%. I mean, that's a longer conversation because it's
Yeah.
like, do we need government? I've gone back and forth with different people about needing it, not needing it. I think on a federal level, we don't need it. We don't need it on a federal level. You need a representation of the states for what? So that there's conversations, so that if there are international conversations that need to happen, it can be facilitated through that. But the power should not be flowing from the top down. The power should not be flowing from the federal level down. I believe the power flows from here. It starts here and it flows out. It flows out. And so I believe that more power needs to go to the local governments. So I do believe local governments are good because you can keep each other accountable. It's very, geographically located, so it's a little easier to do that. But I don't believe that it is. What was the question again? I'm sorry, I lost my.
Going back to the treasury and the notes that
Right.
Ronald Reagan printed supposedly that are there.
Yeah. So, I go back and forth with that story because Reagan specifically, he was an actor, and I felt the same way about him that I do the Ukrainian president a little bit, where he was kind of disappointed. So it might have been like a
Sorry.
psyop. It might have been a form of a psyop. I do know this: in this reality, you cannot lie on advertisement. Like whatever the advertisement is whatever it is that you're selling, you have to say what it is, whether it's right on the front or in the back or whatever. So that money, the one that had the red stamp, it did say treasury,
Or whatever.
treasury note, and then it was like silver backed. So I believe that if you take that and you go there and you go like, look, this is what it says on the paper here, they have to abide by that. So then you can actually get silver in return. So that's real money when it's backed by a commodity like that's real money, and you can actually pay stuff with. Theirs is not, right? That currency is not. But again, still federal level centralized system. Yeah, I don't think it would have been. We wouldn't have known. It would be impossible to know at that point. You have to kind of just trust that that advertisement thing is real, and that's like, oh, it's on the paper, it must be real.
Yeah, it's crazy how far off the rails we as human society have let them take control of so much of our lives, and I feel that regaining our sovereignty and knowing how powerful we are, I can, you can, every single person can do something to change the system, by changing ourselves and the way we think and our thought processes, and remembering how that we are the power and that we've been bamboozled for so long.
Yeah, I mean, I believe true decentralization is only going to begin when we do it privately and locally. Like
Yeah.
when we start individually with 500, 1,000 people, imagine having a million ecosystems with 500 to 1,000 people. It's over. They can't shut down a million ecosystems, a million different projects that are communicating with each other decentralized. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So yeah, it takes starting yourself with
Yeah.
inward work.
Well, we didn't get into too much of the lined abundance, but there's a next time, and I'm hoping that you can come back on. I know you have to run, but I appreciate your time so much. I will be linking all your notes and all of that, but tell us where people can get a hold of you and all that good stuff. Instagram, podcast?
Yes. So I have my Instagram account. It's at Oto Gomes. So it's OTOGOM as in Mary ES. I also have my website, autogomes.live. And I pretty much push everything out through my Instagram. That's where I'm active most of the time. I also have a podcast on YouTube. It's at Oto Gomes or Spotify. So yeah, I push out push out content weekly. And I do have a weekly, I have an 8-week program that if you guys want to be a part of, just comment or send me a DM or a message or an email, and we'll get you in. It's a hero's journey to creating your own path of choice.
Beautiful. And does that, can anybody join at any time, or is there
Mhm.
specific dates and time, or anytime?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just evergreened it now. We have our own app. It's called the Crypto Freedom Academy.
Oh, beautiful.
And this is the Resonation Nation. So we're the Resonations. And yeah, you can start up anytime, and we meet every Friday at 9 a.m. for the lives.
And where are you based right now, in Arizona, or?
Yes, Scottsdale,
Okay, just so
Arizona.
people know the time, 9 a.m.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's Pacific right now.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate your time, and we'll do this again because I have so much more, so many more
Yeah,
questions.
no, for sure. I love talking about this stuff. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Gabrielle.
Thank
Really appreciate your help.
you. Enjoy the rest
All
of
right.
your day.
You
Bye.
too.